that's dealing with some things here. Okay, we got a lot to cover. We're going to go with the Moors and all that, but let's get through the hard copy and different things here too. One thing you got to realize, the government knows that once the people lose spiritual power and common sense and sense of civilization, there's really no gaining it back on the physical level as we think. Yes, you can have, and so now this is why we can mistake people that have psychic ability and certain spiritual sense. We think of them as being real spiritual, and even our people have been able to use that against us, even in getting over on us. You see what I'm saying? So you treat them a certain way and all, and what you didn't realize is that was a normal function that everybody could do at one time. And you think that these particular people are very spiritual for the simple doggone fact that actually this country here shuns spirituality other than doggone religiosity. So therefore, as a result, over and over again, we have certain people with certain gifts and stuff, and then these particular people, they use their gifts at a certain time to get over on people. You see what I'm saying? To get over on people, either financially, you see what I'm saying? Either financially, or either just by different other ways, ego-wise and different things they use like this too. And these were gifts that we actually had in the past and also too. So what we're talking about here is basically, once you lose common sense, you really don't gain it back. So now what we have with black people in the actual 20th century after slavery is a common sense problem. Because common sense is based on common customs, common culture, common language, common spirituality. You understand what I'm saying? And common culture. So without those things, you really have no common sense. We just mimic the popular society, and basically, actually, black people learn how to be, quote unquote, not rough around the edges as far as the brothers and sisters pre-1950s. You see what I'm saying? They learn how to mimic the white man and be rough around the edges through TV. People sound in a certain way. You see what I'm saying? So we talk about a real psychosis that we're dealing with here, because we're talking about people that permanently have to act all the time, and this leads to another schizophrenia that we have to deal with. Like when I went to, when I first was in college, I met a guy, and I swore I thought this guy was from, I thought the brother was from Beverly Hills. You know, his dress, I mean, he went against everything that black people would do. He went to, you know what I'm saying, his dress, you know, he had on the top-siders, and, you know, and just a whole, everything he did was just like you know, some yuppie type person. This was in 1980. His speech, I mean, the dialect was not just a dialect to say, well, I don't sound country. You know what I'm saying? Everybody, that was a big thing, you know, not sounding country. So niggas in Mullins, when they went to college, they changed their goddamn voice and all this kind of thing, not to sound country and shit. And all, you know. But his dialect was that of somebody from Beverly Hills or somebody from the Valley. And one day when we went, because we was at Benedict College in Columbia, South Carolina, and then there's South Carolina State at Orangeburg, which is the big, huge college. And so we would go, which is a big, huge black college down there that got all this money. And so we would go to South Carolina State, because it's just like anything else. Guys from another campus could get up on girls faster than the guys that's on that campus. You see what I'm saying? So the brothers from State could come by and scoop up stuff. So we come by with our paraphernalia on, we could scoop up the women. So we get in carloads of things just to go down, just to damn, you know, be with the women and all. So we went down to South Carolina State one night to Orangeburg, which is like 40 miles from Columbia. But Columbia is the biggest city in South Carolina. And the brother happened to be from Orangeburg. I didn't know this. He said, well, hold on, brother. He said, I want to stop by my house for a minute. I'm like, your house? Thought you was from California or something. I said, well, you know, that don't mean that. You might have been raised something. And the brother pulled up in the projects. And, you know, and all, I met his mother and all, and the mother came out and stuff, and the mother was down-home black people. Same brother, you know, down-home black people. No damn Beverly Hills sound or none of this kind of thing. So I was real quiet on the way back to Columbia, back to school that night. And we stopped, I think we stopped at an IHOP to get something to eat. And I think get something to eat, and he realized what was going on. He said, you're a little confused, ain't you? He said, and I think he knew what was up. And because I was like, now wait a minute, Mr. California, you just fronting this whole time. And he was, and he just went, but it was in the 80s, so it wasn't the type of thing whereas at this particular time we was going into a particular level that assimilation was at a height. And so he came out and said, you know, I taught myself over the course of in high school how to be like this, how to talk like this. And so he said, I taught myself to do all this and to dress this way. And so when he went to a white college. He was like a sophomore and I was a freshman. So his first year he went to a white college, and he said that was where he had to put it into practice, and he merged right in. You see what I'm saying? So we're talking about some socially messed up things in actuality. And so we're talking about in actuality, when we talk about revolution, we're talking about getting things to function with people who are not even there. We're talking about people that is literally dead to the particular point that they're just going along with the society, and basically they get all of their identity from the doggone white man in the larger society as a whole. And in spite whether you don't talk the talk or whatever, your thinking is that. You see what I'm saying? So this is why we have things where people can be in the revolution and liberation, and like I told you last week, if you don't get it into your particular subconscious, and this is a particular thing that actually went on at that particular time. So now the O.J. trial, welfare, affirmative action, crack cocaine, gangs, and all of these things is acting now as a new, as a new smoke screen to keep people from looking at the real incident that is at hand right now, which is mass body snatching is going on nationwide as we speak. You see what I'm saying? So now what we're talking about, something that's so big to everything that is going on in black America right now, it's got black people concerned. You see, because I'm saying overnight these people just turned back into racist. And everything that is going on in black community right now that's got black people off the path is in actuality smoke screen to keep people at this particular time on the biggest subject that plagues us right now is actually body snatching, which they're literally, and what we got is that, and the sister even verified that, because I kind of figured it, but I said, now wait. So I gave you the estimation that there's been 12 million black people missing since 1990. And I kind of knew it was even more than that. Because, I mean, what's the whole idea of actually snatching people if you're not going to dent whole populations of the society? Well, we still got a lot of Negroes around. So if you got 60 million black people, like they ain't telling you, and they get 12 million, you still got 40 million black people you got to deal with. So that means that there's more than 12 million that's missing at this particular time. Because we still are stuck in we only understand our neighborhood and what comes on the actual TV. So everything right now still is very key, and that's why I say we don't understand how important it is for us to see the movie that's out right now, just to get a perspective on how these people are able to do it, to work into the actual subconscious on the movie Extreme Measures. Okay, good, that's good. You got the book. Yeah, the movie Extreme Measures. It's very key that we actually and are either the brother going to bring the book and buy the $4 book and study the book, because there's always more in the book. The book is only $5, I think. The little softback book by the guy named is Michael Palmer. Very key that we do that particular stuff at this particular time. Also, too, we're just dealing with a lot of things, so we got to start dealing with things mentally. So that's what the whole focus on is the last two or three lectures is dealing with things mentally. Take, for instance, you know that we are a crazy race when I'm sitting in on TV and I'm channeling the whole time why is it that we have to have damn white women or white people when we are the only race that can get any color of the spectrum? So I'm saying it don't make sense to go and get a damn white woman. You understand what I'm saying? And be socially deprived of your people, and also mentally deprived of just really where you literally got to die to actually, it's just like Rolanda said she got 2 or 3 white friends, and they say, well, she said, how I maintain these 2 or 3 white friends, we don't speak about nothing racial. Well, I say, well, and she's bragging on it, and she thinking this is cute. That she said she don't speak on nothing racial. Well, that's like saying in actuality, I got to be anti-me because I am a goddamn race. I got to be anti-me just to function with these damn beasts that I'm with. You see, this is the book. There's 2 covers. There's one with the actual movie poster, and this is the other one, Michael Palmer, Extreme Measures, that's out and all. $6.50 here now, They used to be $4 and $5, but they're going up. But the point is she said that we don't talk about anything racial. And so here's a Negro woman, she's on the Rolanda show and all this thing. But she says and she literally she was honest about it, and she thought she was being cute, because we want to say, you know, race don't matter when we get around white people. But in actuality, she was saying in actuality that they make an effort. You know, white people don't talk about race because they don't want to offend you. They figure it's a damn sensitive subject to you. But she makes an effort not to talk about race around these beasts. I say, well, that's not being realistic. You know what I'm saying? And so this is the way we're talking about here. But so what we're talking about is we can actually we can go to all realms of the color spectrum where we don't even have to go outside the race. So it's stupid anyway. So that lets you know it's got to be psychological. You see what I'm saying? Well, you got black people now that you got to look real hard just to see if they're black. You see what I'm saying? So it's no excuse to go outside of the actual race. Different things went on. We're backtracking because what we got to do is go back. You just go back. If you want to understand time, it's even with the guy that wrote the book, The Art of Black Leadership. Can't think of the guy's name. Over to Shaka. Say, well, if you just go back, everything go in cycles. I guarantee you what is happening now, if you just go back to 1976, you will find remnants of that happening. It might be covered over with the actual fashion or culture of that time, but you can find remnants of that happening right now. You see what I'm saying? So basically, that's when you study cycles. Cycles is more than dates and times. Just study cycles, and you can understand what's going on. You can go back in 1965, 1976, 1986, 1976, 1966, and you'll find these particular things that's actually going on at the same time. Now, take for instance, this is one. In 1975, the protests. You had certain protests that was actually woven into black music. OJ's, Philadelphia International, Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, and different things like that. And in 1975, the protests started giving way to more of just fun music or whatever type thing. And so although you did have the protests throughout the 60s, it went to a peak in 75 and it started peaking. But isn't it interesting? And then disco took over, which would allow white people to actually experience black music for the first time. You see what I'm saying? Experience black music for the first time, and then that thing plummeted down to the particular point that but it's funny, right? It said that, and this information that they was giving out was 1975 was the same year that the actual messenger died or ascended. And after that, you would have actually a little break in the actual music till it would plummet down to what you would have disco of the late 1970s. And then in the 1980s, everything was crossover. Prince would come in and you wouldn't see whole black groups no more. You would see people, you know what I'm saying, these not white, it's the androgynous type groups or whatever type thing with Prince coming in. He got half as many whites and stuff. And then the blacks, everybody got some shit in their hair. You know what I'm saying? Because the Jerry curl was in it that time as well as whatever. So you would, and so this particular thing, and so we used to even say, people used to say, oh, Prince is deep at that particular time. We wasn't saying shit. Because, you know, but the point is this particular thing gave way to the actual 1980s and stuff. And that would be the death of our particular people. So whereas the 1990s came, we would be back to the 1940s or the 1930s. Or worse than that, for the simple fact you had everything at that particular time. But that was interesting. It was the same year that the Jehovah's Witness had been, from the Jehovah's Witness, from the beginning of the Jehovah's Witness of the turn of the century up to 1975 the teachings was for what? Damn near close to 70 years, or that in 1979 the world was going to end. 1975 the world was going to end. And as a result of that, because the world didn't end, it broke the Jehovah's Witness, and it wasn't the same type of organization as the Southern Baptist Convention was, but it used to be just that strong at a particular time. And then the Jehovah's Witness became the butt of all jokes and stuff, because they actually were, you know. But the key is it broke that when they did when the world didn't end in 1975, and ever since then, you didn't have the same type of loyal following. The only people that would actually later on follow the Jehovah's Witness were people that would fall prey to the deep occult. No, not occult, cult thinking as far as being brainwashed. But the Jehovah's Witness at one time used to have the same type of caliber of white people, you see what I'm saying, as the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. They were strong in the Jehovah's Witness and all. And after that happened, it broke them and all. A lot of things. There's a book that was written by a girl by the name of Eva Shaw. Name of the book is called The Eve of Destruction. Did you ever get any of them in here? Huh? Oh, by who? Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Well, that was before. Yeah, that was before the book. I probably did that before the book came out. Yeah. But anyway, it's a book called The Eve of Destruction by Eva Shaw, and this book gives you. It also chronicles different dates and timelines of different things that are actually going on. Although sometimes she was making mockery of some of the people that, like the Jehovah's Witness and things that didn't go on. But she put a whole bunch of, she like the other book, Millennium Prophecies, that they got 2 copies. She tried to put every prophecy that she could find in these particular books. So the book was damn near like a doggone encyclopedia of events and things that went on. And it wasn't so much to study the dates, but study the cycles. So the book was like an encyclopedia. She mentioned Aleister Crowley up in there. She mentioned Elizabeth Clare Prophet. She mentioned all types of things as far as things on Revelation. And it was a real good book, Eva Shaw's book. The Eve of Destruction, and so basically just to either study the cycles and study how the earth actually goes and for its prophecy, you can understand what time we're actually in based on, even when she said failed prophecies, they weren't really failed prophecies when you can look at the damn, when you can look at the actual cycle in which they said it. Hell, they could have been 10 years off when they would actually come in and actually say that this is happening. They could have been 10 or 20 years off, but the shit is happening now. Case in point, another key thing that happened in 1976, Jimmy Carter came in. So it had several people on shortwave radio were saying that Jimmy Carter is the next Antichrist. Well, she was making mockery of it, saying, well, that didn't come to be true because, you know, saying that Jimmy Carter was another farm boy, that couldn't be allowed to be the Antichrist. But remember, this man is a damn physicist, a physics major. So he ain't nobody's fool. And as a result, Jimmy Carter is, if you notice, a lot of the plans, Global 2000, King Alpha plan, and a lot of things that went on, as well as the Iran situation, a lot of things that came in under Jimmy Carter. So I'm inclined to believe that the most devastating things come in not with Republicans, as you would think with Reagan, Nixon. It comes in under Democrats that everybody think is farm boys. So now even the Democrats, even if you just notice this particular election, they're saying that this is the most corrupt regime that we've had, that the white people saying they have had under doggone Bill Clinton. You see what I'm saying? But on the other hand and stuff, people are still thinking that Bill Clinton is this damn Jethro Bodine, and this is the people that's actually people that's on an Antichrist level that can do things. After the family fight with Hitler fucked up, they say, no, we're going to go the other way now. You see what I'm saying? So if you notice Kennedy, a lot of shit went down with Kennedy, stuff so powerful to get his ass killed. You see what I'm saying? So these are the ones that it's not the Republican presidents that bring people into doggone destruction, it's the Democrats. You see what I'm saying? All your wars, most of your big wars, a lot of them were started in Democrat. Johnson, the Kennedy thing, Roosevelt, you see what I'm saying? These are things that actually go on and stuff, and so people are thinking that the Democrats are fair, which in actuality they're most of the beasts. So they are most of the beasts, and so in actuality there's a lot of things that went on with Jimmy Carter. You see what I'm saying? That when she was looking in the book, she was saying, how can this be be sure? How can we be sure? How can this be true? But if you notice, these are people that's always loved by black people. Jimmy Carter was loved by black people, and you didn't find another president would be loved by black people up until what? Bill Clinton. And before that, it was what? The greatest one was what? Kennedy. And these are the particular ones, when they put these particular ones in, you know the shit is getting ready to go down on a mass scale. Because remember now, all the shit that went down in the 60s, for most of the 60s, you had what? Democrat presidents. All you got to do is study the actual the cycles. You had Democrat presidents. You didn't get another president until 1968. That's what? A year before the shit is over. Most of all of your 60s were what? Democratic presidents. You see what I'm saying? So this is very key and very crucial that certain things go on so you can understand. So when they say that Bill Clinton is the last president, you can understand in actuality that you're talking about a time whereas this thing is going to be, and I'm quite sure he's going to win or whatever type thing, but we're not going on based on voter. It's who they put in. But basically, we talk about a time whereas things are very crucial at this particular point. You see, based on that. And so her book, if you just read the book, a lot of the prophecies were right. Just the people translated them wrong, but these things did go down, because if you're not talking about space and time, a lot of these prophecies were not necessarily made to be predicted at the time when they did it, but it's talking about now. You see what I'm saying? And that's what's going on. These things are actually going on at this particular time here. You see, this particular time. So going back to the protest music, they understood that rap was going to be the protest music that came up after the disco era had broke things, and the white people made a mockery out of soul music, you see, and made it all glamorous and glitter and stuff, and put some John Travolta in a white damn three-piece suit and shit, and made it all corny. The rap came back out, but remember, they got on the rap. Basically, they took over the rap. The rap was all on miscellaneous labels, Sugar Hill and different labels like that. And those labels in actuality was either taken over, and most of the rap artists started becoming signed in 1985, 1986. All your rap started going on major labels, MCA, Warner Brothers, and Columbia Records. But you thinking they black labels, they're distributed by Def Jam, which is Columbia Records. You see what I'm saying? Uptown, which was MCA. And so we're talking about the major ones coming. So they understood that this was going to be the next protest, and they knew that it will come into a protest. So when it came into a protest, it came into a protest early on the miscellaneous thing with the message with Sugar Hill Gang. But it became more of a protest with people like KRS-One and Public Enemy and X-Clan. So immediately when it becomes protest, when the times get hard again, they could squash it, because those particular ones was all being, at that particular time, they had run out all of the miscellaneous labels. The rap was in session from 1979 to 1975, no, excuse me, 1979 to 1985. Rap was all on what is called independent miscellaneous labels. Then in 1985 and 86, with Def Jam Records came in, and LL Cool J thing went to like #1 and sold over 1 million copies. All of these labels also started picking them up. But it was MCA who 2 years before, Sugar Hill Records, which was the first one to come out with the Sugar Hill Gang, had started being distributed by MCA. And MCA, with the woman Sylvia Robinson, I think her name was, they did that Pillow Talk back in 1974. MCA came to him and said, "You owe us so much money for distribution," and they ran the company out of business. And so that was, I think that was like in 1984. And then by the time, and so 1985 and 86 it started going publicly. So when the actual resurgence of the political thing did happen, they squashed it within 2 years' time. You know, 1988 with Public Enemy, KRS-One, 89, 90, and then by 90 it was gone. And then they pumped in all of the crazy shit. You see what I'm saying, like that, and they squashed it. And even though they might have, so now they confuse you. Instead of people dropping actual knowledge like KRS-One was, people now start talking about the problems of the ghetto. That ain't good enough now. People know the problems of the ghetto. Hell, the news talk about that. What people need to understand is a certain amount of knowledge, and that knowledge was actually coming at that particular time, and they squashed it. So we're talking about, these things might seem insignificant, but if you just look at the world around you, you can understand that the beast is moving at the particular time, because he knows what time it is in that particular time, time frame. You see what I'm saying? So it's very interesting. Other movies, you know, like I said again, check out Warlock 1 and Warlock 2. The reason why I say check out these particular movies, because when I go into this more science in a few minutes, you will understand that certain movies will give you certain things dealing with it was actually more science. So Warlock 1 and Warlock 2, very key movies to check out, where they talk about the Grand Grimoire. He was trying to put together this particular book called the Grand Grimoire, which was a book based on spells and incantations that's supposed to reverse the name of God and take over the world. And the next one was about the ruins of the sacred stones. Well, those stones could be equivalent to, that's the second one, where he had to get these sacred stones. The stones are equivalent to crystals and also runes. Runes are these particular things that came out of Egypt that we think is European. They came out of Egypt. And they were brought up into Europe by the Moors. Very key when we go into Moor science. So these are two movies. Also, he talked about the Grand Grimoire. So the Grand Grimoire is supposed to be this great book that's supposed to reverse the name of God. The Grand Grimoire is, in fact, a book that has got all these spells and rituals, but the greatest Grand Grimoire is actually the Book of the Dead. That's why you can't really read the Book of the Dead as a book that makes sense, because the Book of the Dead is just spells and rituals. That's all it is. So it was a book that was used by the high priest. and based on the mystery system. So therefore it cannot be understood not unless you're dealing with rituals. But you can take you can make up most of your rituals by going to the Book of the Dead, Book of Coming Forth by Day. It wasn't until later on when they understand the priesthood fell that they had to start writing actually stuff in a religious faction so you could understand certain types of spirituality. So the first part came, is the Grand Grimoire. If you go see the Warlock and they talk about this Grand Grimoire that he's looking for, the real Grand Grimoire is the Book of Coming Forth by Day, which is spells and rituals. And so it's not necessarily made to be read on the symbology of basically how the Bible and all that, because they had several books, millions of books in Egypt. That was the major ritual book. But the best one to understand based on those particular rituals what was going on, which was